Sorry for the short delay.
So you just press it down like this. So you get the cursor on top. All right. You press down like this and then scroll down.
Gotcha. I may be calling on your assistance again, Joe.
Okay, the defense's objection was sustained. Mr. Gorman. I guess, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to inform you that the question that Mr. D'Angelo asked regarding another code, Mr. DaCosta answered that he did not have that information, and nor was that information provided in any of the existing documents that Alarm.com provided to the state of Ohio, who then provided to Mr. Gorman and Mr. Riley in preparation for trial. Okay? All right, Mr. Gorman, you may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. All right. Let me get my bearings here, sir. I have a hard time when I'm looking at someone and I'm talking to them on the screen and cross-examining them. But my name is Joe Gorman. My partner in this case, my co-counsel, is Scott Riley. Together we represent Stanley Ford. I have a few questions for you as it relates to the records that have been introduced through you by the state today. And if you don't understand my question, because I don't have your expertise, then make sure you tell me so I can rephrase it and maybe you can help me along a little too. Is that okay?
Sure.
All right. So we met briefly over the lunch hour by video. Is that fair?
Correct.
Okay. And you're in Minnesota, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I want to talk to you. I'm going to get right to it. I want to talk to you about a few of the things the prosecutor talked to you about. I want to talk to you about some more dates in the records that you've provided. So first of all, let me start by saying, and you can scroll through, the time frame that we're talking about of the records that you have provided to the state of Ohio in regard to this matter. Can you tell us the months and the years of the records that you provided, please?
Should I look at my documentation on my side?
Do you have the share up with you or no?
I can see the screen. I'm looking at.
Oh, but you cannot scroll. Is that fair?
I cannot scroll.
All right. If I told you the months and you disagreed, can we go that route?
Sure.
All right. So you provided the month of January 2016. You provided those records as it relates to the alarm system at 1374 Hillcrest. Is that fair?
It's a broader date range than that in the document that you're showing here. On this page, I see January 1st through January 6th.
Okay, but my point is the month of January 2016, are you aware that you provided all the records for January of 2016 to the state of Ohio?
Yes.
Are you aware that you provided all the records for February of 2016 to the state of Ohio?
Yes.
Are you aware that you provided all of March of 2016 to the state of Ohio?
Yes.
Are you aware that you provided all of May of 2016 to the state of Ohio?
Yes.
Are you aware that you provided all of June? Well, let me check that before I say it. What?
You forgot April.
Oh, he said I forgot April. Are you aware that you provided all of April of 2016 to the state of Ohio?
Yes.
And all of May of 2016 to the state of Ohio?
Correct.
All right. And when we say all of those records, we're talking about from January 1st through the end of May 2016, all the records showing when the alarms were activated or deactivated have been provided to the state of Ohio for those 5 months. Is that fair?
Yeah, all the data that would have been sent back to us from the system between January 1st, 2016 and through May 31st, 2016.
Okay. And is it true, sir, then you did not provide the records to the state of Ohio for June of 2016?
That's correct.
You did not provide
Did not provide.
Am I right?
Didn't. Yep.
And you did not provide the records for July of 2016 to the state of Ohio?
We did not provide that.
You did not provide the records to the state of Ohio for August of 2016. Is that fair?
Correct.
You did not provide the records to the state of Ohio for September of 2016, correct?
Correct.
You did not provide the records for October 2016 to the state of Ohio. Is that fair?
That's fair.
You did not provide the records to the state of Ohio for November of 2016. Accurate?
Accurate.
And you did not provide the records to the state of Ohio for December of 2016, correct?
That's correct.
You did not provide the records, well, let me take that back. You did provide the records to the state of Ohio from January of 2017, fair?
That's correct.
You provided the records for February 2017, correct?
Yes.
You provided the records for March of 2017, yes?
Yes.
You provided the records for April of 2017, correct?
Yes.
And you provided the records for May of 2017, correct?
Correct.
And finally, you provided the records for June of 2017, correct?
Correct.
The state of Ohio did not receive from Alarm.com any records from July of 2017 forward. Is that fair?
Correct.
And Alarm.com did not provide the state of Ohio of any alarm records for 1374 Hillcrest prior to January of 2016, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So, let's see if I can figure this out now. I want you to look at, sir, the records as they relate to January 8th, 2016. Do you see those?
Yes.
Can you tell us what happened at 3:55 in the morning on January 8th, 2016, by looking at those records?
I can't tell you what actually happened, but the event history tells us that somebody used a code to disarm the system, and that code is assigned in the system, in the back end, like on the Alarm.com side, to a user, the name of Stanley Ford.
So January 8th, 2016, someone with the code provided by Stanley Ford at some point to Alarm.com, someone with that code disarmed the alarm system at 1374 Hillcrest. Is that fair?
Yes, the only clarification I would make is that we don't know who provided the code to anybody.
Okay.
We just know that a code was put in at the keypad, and in our cloud, on the website, that code is assigned to somebody who entered in the name. The name was entered Stanley Ford. So
Okay.
I don't know who did that.
Thank you, sir. And I warned you, you're going to know more about this than me, right? So,
Just want to be precise.
and I appreciate that. And then at 4:17 a.m. in the morning on January 8th, 2016, what does the record tell us happened?
So the system told us that the panel was put into arm stay mode. And so that would mean somebody pressed the arm stay button with the keypad.
At 4:17 in the morning.
At 4:17 in the morning, correct?
Yes. Okay. And then I want you to look at January 9th and tell us what happened at 3:17 a.m., 3:17 in the morning on January 9th.
Yeah, very similar to the one before. The system is telling us that a code was entered at the keypad to disarm the system, and then that code is associated with the user that has the name Stanley Ford in the account.
Okay. And then at 5:45 a.m. on January 9th, can you tell us what happened?
The system told us that somebody pressed the arm stay button at the keypad.
Okay.
What date is that?
That would be January 9th? Sure.
And it's January 9th at 5:45.
5:45 a.m. Okay.
Yep.
I want you to look at January 17th at 10 minutes to 1 in the morning, and if you could tell us what happened at that point in time on January 17th at 10 minutes to 1 a.m.
Yeah, again, the system told us here that someone locally at the keypad put in a code to disarm the system. That code at the account level is assigned to somebody with the name of Stanley Ford.
Okay. And at 1:04 a.m., please, on the same date?
Which there are 3 different events at that time.
Right. The one that immediately follows the disarming of the...
Sure. Yeah, the system told us that somebody pressed the arm stay button at the keypad.
Okay. And then we have 2 more at 1:04. Are you able to explain why that is?
Not really just by looking at this. It could be that somebody pressed the stay button and used the code to disarm sort of in rapid succession.
Okay. So armed it, disarmed it, and armed it all within the time period of 1:04 a.m.
Yeah.
Okay. Could you look at January 29th at 2:44 a.m. in the morning and let us know what you see the record indicates?
Yes. Yes. Again, this is the system telling us that locally somebody entered the code to disarm the system, and then in the cloud, the code is associated with the user by the name of Stanley Ford.
Okay. And then can you also tell us what happened at 4:07 a.m. on January 30th, 2016?
Yeah, it's it appears to be the exact same sequence of events. Code used locally, disarmed. That code is associated in our system on the back end to somebody named Stanley Ford.
Okay. And then at 6 a.m. on January 30th, we have an indication that the alarm was then again stayed. Is that fair?
Yes, so that's somebody pressing the arming button locally.
About 2 hours and 7 minutes after they had disarmed the alarm. Fair enough?
Yeah, looks like maybe like an hour and 55
I'm sorry,
minutes.
I did it wrong. I did the math wrong. See,
Okay.
I keep on promising you're smarter than me. At 1:57 a.m. on March 17, 2016, would you agree with me that we have another disarming of the panel by, it says on your records, it says by Stanley Ford?
Right, that's what happened. The code that was used to disarm was associated with Stanley Ford in the system.
Okay. And then on March 17th at 2 o'clock in the morning, the panel was re-engaged away. Does that sound correct?
Yes, so similar to the arm stay, except it's a different arm mode. Somebody pressed the button locally to arm it to away.
And then at 2:56 a.m. on that same day, the panel was again disarmed, and then right away, within the same minute, it was armed again away, correct?
Correct.
I want to go to April 29th, 2016. It appears at 4:49 a.m. the panel was disarmed, correct?
That's correct.
And it was rearmed at 4:52 a.m. 3 minutes later. Is that fair?
That's accurate.
want to go to May 8th, 2016. It appears the panel was armed away at 0:33 a.m. in the morning. Is that fair?
Correct.
And it was disarmed also after that, within that minute, at 0:33 a.m. Fair?
Yes.
That was on, do I have that right? That was on May 8th in the morning, early morning hour, correct?
Yes, 12:33 a.m. on May 8th.
Can you see on May 8th, 9th, or 10th, or 11th that's on the screen here, when it would have been rearmed?
There are no arming events. Sorry, my screen went. There are no arming events below 12:33 a.m. on May 8th, so there's nothing on the 9th, 10th, or 11th.
Okay, so somebody at that point could have walked into that house without the alarm without an alarm going off. Is that fair?
Just to clarify my previous statement, at least what I'm seeing here, there's no arming events up until, at the point of 3:46 p.m. So at the bottom of the page here, I don't see what's after that.
Sure, no, I understand. Up till that point, on May 11th, from May 8th at 0:33 until May 11th at 15:46, if somebody walked into that house uninvited, the alarm would not have gone off.
Correct.
Okay. And it wouldn't have gone off again until somebody reactivated or armed it. Fair?
Well, it depends what kind of devices are on the security system. If there are like smoke alarms or carbon monoxide sensors and something happens, it doesn't have to be armed.
Okay. So there's an opportunity perhaps for somebody to walk into the house when it's disarmed and the alarm still sounds.
Yeah, but I'm speculating.
I understand.
Yeah,
I understand.
Maybe coincidence.
I understand. Now on the screen now we see maybe what I was talking about earlier. We have May 31st, 2016, and then the records provided to the state of Ohio jump from that date to January 1st, 2017, right?
Yes.
Okay, and you could tell I was focusing on early morning hour times when the alarm was disarmed, correct? What?
I was not following. I didn't create a pattern in my head, but
Okay.
yes, in hindsight, it seems
Okay.
like that's what's happening.
Well, let me ask it this way then. That's probably a bad question then. If I wanted to, right now with the records that have been established here, if I wanted to show how many times in the early morning AM hours after midnight to 5 or 6 a.m., if I wanted to show how many times the alarm was disarmed from June through the end of December in 2016 with the records I have here, I wouldn't be able to do that, would I? Well, we don't have.
That question.
All right, and once again, maybe a bad question. We don't have the records for those 7 months from the July or June 1st all the way to the end of 2016. So if I was looking to see when the alarm was deactivated or activated in the early morning hours for those 7 months, I can't tell by looking at the records that's been provided by alarm.com to the state of Ohio, correct?
Correct.
So on January 2nd, 2017, Well, let me ask this question. On January 1st, 2017, the alarm system at 12:43 in the afternoon was deactivated, disarmed, correct?
Correct.
And it was rearmed at 16 minutes before 1 a.m. on January 2nd, 2017. Is that correct?
12:44, yes.
Yes. I'm going to go to, oops. Hey, Joe, I just messed this up. Can you help me out? Please?
Sure.
Thank you.
What do you
What I messed up was I had that, I was scrolling and this got in the way. I don't know how that got there.
All right, I think that would work.
Perfect.
So just use this right there.
But do the same press?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
You press down and move up and
All
down.
right, thank you. So I want to look at April 7th of 2017 at 4:17 a.m. At that time, would you agree with me that the panel was disarmed?
Yes.
And it was rearmed stay at 4:22 a.m., correct?
Correct.
And if I have that right, so I understand the stay and the away, the stay would be used, at least by you, Mr. DaCosta, when you would be in the house and want the alarm system on the outside of the house to be operating, correct?
Yeah. In my case, we pretty much always arm at stay because we have a dog that can trigger the
Okay.
internal motion sensors.
Okay. I'm sorry, I got the wrong day. I apologize to you.
What was the last date?
Joe, I did it again. I'm sorry.
What was your last date?
The last one before this, what I'm going to, would have been, I'm sorry, 4/7/17.
4/28.
See the arrow
Oh,
where it
I'm
says
going to
convert
4/28 is where I wanna go
Microsoft
next.
document? Joe, see where it says convert to Microsoft document on the right side? See that arrow?
Over
Keep going
here?
Down.
Yes.
Down, right to the, now to your left, I guess. Up.
Convert?
No, there's this line right here, right, see this arrow?
We need a third lawyer, Judge.
No, the arrow pointing to the right.
This one right
pointing to
here.
the- No, over, yeah, yep.
Gotcha.
There, right there. Right
There
there.
you go.
I'm going to remain seated.
Thank you, Your Honor.
No problem. So don't hit that arrow.
I wish I could promise you, Judge. All right. At 5:08 in the morning on April 28th, the panel was disarmed again, correct?
That's correct.
And it was, then it was reactivated arm stay at 5:13 a.m. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. At 5:44 a.m. on May 5th, 2017, the panel was disarmed, correct?
Yes.
And it was reactivated at 5:49 a.m. on that same day. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. 5/12, on 5/12/2017 at 5:01 a.m., the panel was disarmed, correct?
Yes,
And it was reactivated in the stay position at 5:18 a.m. Is that correct?
yes.
All right, I want to go to May 24th, 2017. So on the 24th day of May, sir, 2017, what happened at 16:49 p.m.?
Yep, so these records indicate that at 4:49 p.m., a code was used to disarm the system. That code is associated with a user on the account named Stanley Ford.
So, just so I have that one correct, I want to make sure I have that one correct. It's the same as the others, panel disarmed by Stanley Ford, it says, same as the others, correct?
Yes.
But on May 24th, on that date, and now I'm going to an afternoon hour, and I appreciate that, at 16:49 p.m., the panel was disarmed using, I guess we would say, the same code, correct?
Well, not necessarily.
Okay.
The code, it's the same association. The code can be changed, but I don't think that happened.
Okay. But you don't know for sure.
What's that?
You don't know for sure.
We would know if we had, so if you make a change to a code, which you can do through the website, we would see it in the event history here.
Okay. At 6:58, that was, panel was armed stay again, correct?
4:58.
I'm sorry, at 16:58, which is 4:58, right?
Yep.
All right, and then it was also armed away. Is that true?
Yeah, so someone first armed and stay and then changed the arming mode to away.
Okay. On June 23rd, 2017, at 14:45, it says panel was armed away. You see that?
Yes.
It doesn't have a by Stanley Ford or by anyone else, and I frankly don't know the reason why. Do you?
So, I mean, I can't say definitively, but in most cases, the way these systems work is that there's a setting called something like secure arming, which doesn't require you to enter a code when you arm it, but it does require you to enter a code when you disarm it. So by default, most systems, you just have to press the arm button and it arms, but you do have to enter a code when you disarm.
Okay. So at 14, let's see if I have this right. Hold on a second. So when we see 6/23/2017 at 14:48, panel disarmed, but it doesn't say a by somebody. Are you able to explain that?
No, I don't have an explanation for that.
Because that would be in some way contradictory to the explanation you just gave, correct?
I don't think it would be contradictory. I think I don't know why it's showing that. There's probably an explanation for it. I don't know what it is. But, yeah, in most cases, you need to have a code to disarm.
Okay, as you had just previously testified to, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then on June 23rd at 14:59 hours, we see panel armed away again, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And then, I'm almost done, believe me. And then, getting to the end.
Sorry, can you scroll back up?
Sure. Tell me when to stop.
Yeah, stop there.
Okay. Tell me where to go and I'll go there for you.
No, that's fine. I was just looking at this disarmed.
Okay.
Down here. Okay.
We good?
Proceed.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you, sir. I want to go to June. You see where I have June 28, 6/28/2017. You see that?
Yes.
All right. On June 28, 2017 at 15:51 in the afternoon, which would be 3:51 in the afternoon, it indicates that the panel disarmed by Stanley Ford. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. Much like we saw throughout these records as we've gone through them, that's the same indication. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. And then at 6:28 and 15 at 6:28 2017 at 15:53 hours, 2 minutes later the panel is armed stayed and then it's armed away at the same time. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. If I traveled out to Minnesota and you gave me whatever code it is you used to get into your house and out of your house and arm it and disarm it, and I plugged it in, it would still say your name? Is that what you're telling us?
That's correct.
Okay. So I'm going to check with my co-counsel to make sure I didn't miss anything. I'll be right back with you, okay?
Okay.
He shockingly told me I'm good to go. So thank you, sir, for answering my questions. At this point, I don't have any more for you.
Mr. D'Angelo?
1 second, Judge.
All right, Mr. DaCosta, don't go anywhere.
Sorry, should I stay here or?
Yeah, they're going to be with you shortly. They have some follow-up questions, I believe.
Okay, yeah, no problem.
Mr. Dacia, you still there? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, sir. Just one real quick question for you. The records, Mr. Gorman had asked you about records that had not been provided to the state of Ohio for certain dates. Do you recall that line of questioning?
Yeah.
And those records could have been available if Mr. Ford had requested them.
Sustained as to the form.
Joe. Mr. DaCosta, the records, those additional records or all records would be available to the subscriber or the user, correct?
Overruled. You may answer.
No, so they're by default, if you're a customer or if you're a security dealer who is providing service to the customer, you have access to 60 days of history. And then if you want something beyond that, you have to go through a process to get it from us.
A court process, subpoena?
Yep, correct.
Do you have any further questions of Mr. DaCosta?
I know, Judge, we don't have any other questions. Thank you.
All right, Mr. DaCosta, thank you very much. You can leave the meeting.
I have one clarification on a prior answer. Can I provide that?
To whose question?
It was Mr. Gorman, I think. He was asking why there was a panel disarmed message without a name next to it.
Do you want that answered?
Sure, I asked a question.
Okay, yes, go ahead and clarify, Mr. DaCosta.
And just so it's clear, I have the same, I can't scroll through what I'm seeing on the screen, so I was scrolling through the same copy that I have locally here. It's on June 23rd, 2017. That right there, so at the bottom of the page 68. The reason why there's no user there is this alarm here is triggered by a duress code. And a duress code, panel duress, is it's basically sort of like a hostage situation where you like punch in a code and it disarms it, but it also sends a duress to the central station without really anybody knowing. That's why there's not a user next to that.
Okay, thank you. Do you have follow-up to that?
No, I can live with that.
Okay.
I don't, that's fine.
Okay.
I didn't know either.
Any further questions, Mr. D'Angelo?
No, Judge.
All right, Mr. DaCosta, thank you. You can hit leave meeting at the bottom of your screen. Or Ken can remove them. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to give you one clarification, and that is the state of Ohio bears the burden of proof beyond a reasonable doubt as to each and every element of each offense for which Mr. Ford has been accused. And so I just want to remind you of that burden. We have one more witness for today, so if we want, raise your hand if you need a break. All right, we're going to keep going then.
I think we need.
Oh, I'm sorry. There's technology. We got to download a couple things, so I apologize. So we are going to take a short recess. It's 3:10. Be back in the jury room at 3:25, and we'll finish with our last witness for the day. Remember the admonition I've previously given you. Don't talk about the case amongst yourself. Don't talk about it with anyone else. Don't let anyone else talk about it in your presence. Leave your notepads upside down on your seats, and you'll be back in the jury room at 3:25. And you can just. Thank you. You may be seated. All right, Mr. LaPrinzi, you may call your next witness. Again.
The judge can come swear you in. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Sir, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, and for the record, there's there's a little bit of a delay, so make sure that the question is completed before you answer it, so there's no overlap of your answer and the question.
Yes.
Thank you. You may proceed, Mr. LaPrinzi.
Thank you, Judge. Good afternoon, sir. If you would, there's a jury in here now. If you would, please introduce yourself to that jury by telling them your full name and spell your last name for the court reporter, please.
John P. Weber, last name W-E-B-E-R.
And sir, are you currently employed?
I am, yes.
What do you currently do?
I work for the State Fire Marshal's Office as a fire investigator and a canine hand.
And do you have a rank or a title?
Investigator.
Okay. And how long have you been with the State Fire Marshal?
18 years.
And prior to that, did you have any law enforcement experience?
I did with the Tuscarawas County Sheriff's Office as a reserve deputy.
All right. And as far as being a state fire marshal, you having trouble hearing?
A little bit, you're in and out.
Okay. I'll try and stand closer. When you became a state fire marshal, what, if anything, did you have to do or qualifications did you have to have in order to become a state fire marshal?
Needed to complete my OPATA, Ohio Police Officer Training, and I had done quite a bit of fire investigation classes and training to get to that status.
All right, so you were a reserve deputy. In order to be a reserve deputy before being with Ohio State Fire Marshal, did you have to be OPATA certified?
That's correct, yes.
And just so that people know, I think we had prior testimony that OPATA stands for the Ohio Police Officers Training Academy.
Correct.
And every police officer in the state of Ohio has to go through that and pass that course and be certified to be a law enforcement officer in the state of Ohio. Is that true?
Yes,
And you did that prior to being with the Ohio State Fire Marshal.
I did, yes.
And then in order to be the state fire marshal, you did additional training. Is that fair?
Yes,
Were you ever a fireman?
yes. I was employed at the city of Dover for 8+ years,
And was that before being a deputy or concurrent?
concurrent.
So tell us about your training in order to be a fireman.
Oh boy, 240 hours of training, classwork. I was I was a medic as well, so I went through paramedicine training. I was a hazmat technician and then an investigator for the fire department.
All right. And that was all before you got signed up with the Ohio State Fire Marshal.
Yes,
All right. With the Ohio State Fire Marshal, you said you've been with them for 17 years. Have you been an investigator the entire 17 years?
18 years and yes.
Okay.
18 years.
And please explain to the jury what your duties were as an investigator, or are as an investigator with the Ohio State Fire Marshal's Office.
To determine the origin and cause of fires at the request of the local fire departments or jurisdictions.
All right, so let's talk about that just a little bit so that the jury understands. The city of Akron actually has its own fire department, correct?
That is correct.
And they have their own investigators, correct?
Correct.
So what function does the state, Ohio State Fire Marshal's Office have if jurisdictions have their own fire departments and investigators?
Well, we're an assist agency. If it's something that's over the fire chief's head or the fire department's head that they don't feel comfortable handling or it's too much for them, they can call the state in and we can help them with that investigation.
All right, so is it fair to say there are some jurisdictions, some counties or jurisdictions that don't have, large population and they don't have a investigative unit? Is that fair?
Yes, that's fair to say.
And some places just have volunteer fire departments, correct?
Yes, correct.
So if there was an arson, they might need you to come in and take on the investigation of that arson.
Yes, that's correct.
All right. So as far as you getting involved here, you would have had to have been asked by the Akron Fire Department. Is that fair?
It would have been Investigator Peterman that would have been initially notified.
Okay. And what I mean is the state fire marshal would have to be invited in or asked to assist.
Yes, that's correct.
And is it fair to say, I think you said it, but is it fair to say that, even a large jurisdiction who has a large and department along with investigators might not have the equipment or the technology that the state fire marshal's office might have to do some of the things needed?
Yes, that's correct.
And you could in fact assist in a limited capacity, fair?
Yes.
All right. So let's talk about the case in which we're here for today. Going back to April of 2016, did you get involved in the investigation of a fire that took place in the city of Akron, Summit County, Ohio at 719 Fultz?
Yes, I did.
All right. How would you have gotten involved?
Investigator Peterman had already been on scene, and he requested I come up with a canine to do a examination for accelerants.
All right. So in this particular case, you talked about Investigator Peterman. Does he have the same job function as you, as an investigator?
Yes, he does.
All right. And why would he be calling you if he's an investigator?
He specifically requested a canine examination.
All right. So not only are you an investigator for the state fire marshal, but you also have an additional talent, so to speak, and that is that you're a canine handler.
Yes, sir.
And could you please tell us what that entails?
I have at the time it was Canine India that was trained and certified through ATF, Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, and she is trained in accelerant detection or ignitable liquid detection.
And how long does that training take place?
I'm sorry, you cut out.
Yep, sorry about that. How long does that training take?
It takes about 12 to 16 weeks depending on the program.
Okay, and is that training for you or the dog or both?
Both. The dog does like a 6-week imprinting course before the handlers come in, and then the handlers come in for a 6-week training course to teach us how to work the dogs.
And you use the word imprinting. Tell us what that means.
Imprinting is teaching the dog through Pavlovian theory how to alert or to notify us that there's an accelerant present. Their typical alert, their food reward. So what they will do is they will alert by usually sitting and placing their nose right on the spot where that odor may be located, and then they expect to be fed.
All right, and when you talk about the Pavlovian response, just in case somebody doesn't recall their high school science classes, tell us what that means.
Dr. Pavlov conditioned his dogs when he rang the bell that the dogs were trained that they were going to get fed at that point. So they began to salivate and such things when they would hear that bell ring. In our case, instead of using the sense of sound, we're using the sense of smell. When that dog locates that odorant, he begins to salivate and will perform the function that we're requesting.
And so the jury knows, why do you use dogs?
Because their sense of smell is much better than ours or most of the equipment that's out there.
All right, and so when you say much better than ours, can you give us some quantifying numbers or way to tell us how much better their smell is to ours as humans?
I can describe that when you and I walk into a kitchen or into the room and we smell our wife or whatever making chili, we smell chili. That dog actually smells every single ingredient that is in that chili, whether it be garlic, pepper, paprika, you name it. They can almost smell down to the molecular level.
Okay. So it's pretty sensitive.
Say again, please.
So it is pretty sensitive.
Yes.
All right. So let's get back to April of 2016. You were called by Investigator Peterman because you had K9, and I think you said her name was India?
That was K9 India, yes.
All right. And so K9 India, how long had K9 India been in service at that point in time in April of 2016?
I believe it would have been 5 years at that point.
All right. And how long do K9 dogs of this nature work?
Usually until they're 9 or 10 years old, depending on how they're doing at that age.
All right. So you got the call. What time did you go to the scene?
I did.
And what time would you have arrived at the scene?
I think it was about 8:45 in the morning.
All right. And as far as your involvement, is there any rush for you to get there?
Not specifically, no. I wouldn't run lights and sirens or anything like that.
All right. And would that be because as the fire is active, you're not going to be doing anything with a dog?
Correct.
All right. And even after the fire is under control, you are not going to allow that dog into a fire scene that is still hot, so to speak?
In most cases, yes, but I'm going to make sure that scene's safe before I deploy her.
Okay. When you arrived on the scene, and I'm going to start showing you some photographs, if I can here. Do you, what's that? Oh, I got to share it. That's right. Thank you, Joe. I'm going to try and do a screen share with you here.
Okay.
Can you see that?
It says you've started a screen sharing, yes. There's the picture of the house.
All right, hang on. Let me. All right.
Wait, we lost him.
Joe? I see him on my screen, but I don't see him on that screen. It's got some kind of a double thing here.
Yeah, you might have to just go with the thing on the side. You can't do the whole screen.
I don't care about that. I just don't know how to do that.
Right.
You're making me feel a little more adequate now.
That was my goal.
You might have to do it like this, because if you
Okay,
go the
I see
whole
what
screen, you're gonna lose his face, and they have to be able to.
Your Honor, at this point in time, we're going to ask that this presentation be labeled as State's Exhibit number 41, which will have a series of photographs. It looks like 16 photographs of 719 folds.
Okay. So Mark.
All right.
It's a flash drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
It's a flash drive.
Yeah. All right. So Investigator Weber, do you recognize this?
I don't see it now, but I'm assuming you mean the
Oh.
house?
I forget. We got to go back and screen share again. Hold on.
It's okay.
Yeah, I think there's one of your screen sharing and then there's one that you just. Okay, here's what I think you have to do. Oh, there you go. Never mind.
Okay. Now do you see it?
Yes.
All right.
I mean, yeah.
And do you recognize that?
Looks like the house we did the examination on back in 16.
All right. And so when you arrive at the scene with the dog, what is it that what would you do? Is there a procedure or a method or something that you do to organize your search with this dog, with India?
It's a systemic search. The first thing we would likely do is clear some of the debris that might be dangerous to the dog. Anything with like broken glass or sharp pieces of metal, and then do the examination. All
right. And then also, just because I think you're our first actual investigator on this, and firefighter, I believe, when you approach a house, is there a way you label the sides of the house?
North, south, east, and west.
All right. And so would that be based on where you're standing or the actual geographic direction?
The actual geographic direction.
All right. Are you aware of other agencies that use labels like A, B, and C side or D side?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, a lot of the fire departments use that.
All right. And are you familiar with those?
Somewhat, yes.
All right. So just so that we know in the future, when you're talking, what would be the A side?
The front of the house
And the B side?
would be to the left.
All right. And can you see the mouse?
Yep.
Okay. So when we say the left, you're talking about facing the house. So this would be the B
Yeah.
side.
Yes.
And what would be C?
The opposite side.
The back of the house?
C, I'm sorry, the back would be C, and then the right side would be D.
Okay. But for you, it's north, south, east, and west.
That's correct.
All right. And do you recall how this house was situated and how you referred to it?
I referred to the front as facing south.
All right. And so, of course, if that's south, the back would be north, and the left side would be west, and the right side would be east. Is that fair?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. So in this situation, you get to the house. You said it's systematic. What did you do in this case?
I believe we initially cleared some debris around the front yard, and then it would be that west yard.
All right. And a little bit of an education for the jury here. If there was an accelerant, okay, and maybe we should ask you to tell us, what is it, when we say an accelerant, what does that mean?
An accelerant is an ignitable liquid used to help progress a fire or to get a fire started.
All right. And when somebody puts an accelerant on an item, so if I was going to start a bonfire, I put maybe some accelerant on that bonfire and I light that, and it burns and it helps to start the fire. Fair?
Yes.
Can the dog still smell the accelerant once that fire has already burned up the accelerant?
Yeah, that's a tough question. You can say yes and you can say no. It depends on how long and how much of the product is left after that fire has been extinguished, or whether it even extinguished itself.
Okay. So bottom line is it depends.
It does.
All right. So let's talk about this case here. You, after clearing the debris that you felt was necessary to make it safe for the dog, what did you do?
We deployed Canine India. We did a calibration away from the home, which kind of shows that she was working.
All right, tell us about the calibration.
The calibration is done with a 50% evaporated gasoline, which is a product that really mimics gasoline that's been involved in a fire. The idea is to show that before we do the examination that the canine is working. We complete the examination and then go back to the calibration point. If she alerts again, then it shows that she's working when she was finished with the examination.
Okay, so you make sure that what she's smelling is some kind of accelerant? Oh, I'm sorry. So you make sure before she starts the examination that she is smelling an accelerant?
Yes.
And then after you do the examination of the home, you do it again to make sure she's still alerting on accelerant?
Working, yes, yes.
And I'll ask you, did you do that in this case before and after, and what were the results?
Yes, we did that, and yes, in the first examination, she made a number of alerts.
All right. So you say you deployed the dog, so does she just roam freely on her own, or how does that work?
No, she's on lead, and we basically give her a command to seek. We kind of give her a pointer. Usually that's driving on the ground, and you kind of give her a direction to go.
All right. And in this case, where did you start?
I believe we started at the west side, towards the back of the home.
All right. And when you started on the west side, was there any alerts by India?
I believe on the west side there was 2 alerts made by India.
Okay, and I'm going to...
Right at the ground level, about the middle of the home. And then the other one was right about the beginning of the porch on the west side.
All right, I'm going to show you the next slide on our PowerPoint. Do you recognize this?
That looks like a numbered placard that would have been placed with her alert. And there is a orange marker on the ground where I placed that where the dog alerted.
Okay, is that right here where I'm indicating or
Yes.
circling? That's the orange marker you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay. And this marker, where was this marker located in relation to the house?
I believe that's the west side, and I'm going to say about the middle of the structure.
All right. I'm going to show you now the next slide. Tell us if you recognize that.
That's going to be the west side as well, right at the porch.
All right. So this number 2, this would be the side of the house on the west, and is this the porch railings, so to speak?
You can barely see it, but it looks like I have an orange marker to the right of the numbered placard. It's right on the deck of the porch there, under the railing.
Right here?
Yes.
Okay. And so these would be the porch railings you're talking about.
Yes.
And do you recall what they were made of?
Wood.
All right. Do you recall what the siding was made of?
I believe it was a metal siding.
All right. And as a fireman and an investigator of arson, is one more apt to catch or ignite on fire than the other?
I would say wood is more likely.
Okay.
Mr. Lindsay, yeah, thank you. Brought something up.
Oh, sorry.
That's it.
After you worked on the west side of the house, which part of the house did you go to next?
We continued across the south side or the front side in the
Okay.
yard area.
And do you see the next slide? Looks like slide number 4 here that I'm showing you of exhibit number 41. Do you recognize this?
Yes, I do.
And tell us what we're looking at.
Alert locations from India, number 3 and number 4.
All right, and here's number 3, and here's number 4. And what is this here that we're looking at? All this?
That is going to be the front porch.
Okay. And again, that was made of wood?
Yes, it was a wood deck.
And now showing you the 5th slide. Is this just a close-up of alert number 3?
Yes,
And slide number 6, that's just a close-up of alert number 4. Is that correct?
yes,
And this would be your orange marker that you put down?
yes,
And so this marker, this is where India would have put her nose when she alerted?
yes.
And showing you slide number 7, what are we looking at here?
That same front area, the porch, and you can also see the 5th alert made by India to the right of the screen there, right of the picture.
Okay, and we're talking about over here, right? Correct?
Yes, yes.
All right. And this would be a close-up, slide number 8 would be a close-up of alert number 5, fair?
Yes.
And now what are we looking at? Slide number 9, what are we looking at here?
We've cleaned the deck off, and we've recalibrated India and brought her back up to do an examination on the porch itself. And you're seeing 3 alerts on the deck or on the porch made by India, 6, 7, and 8.
Okay. And then slide number 10, what are we looking at here?
The continuation of the deck examination, we worked the stairs leading up to it, and was 1 alert at that top step.
And slide 11, what are we seeing here?
Looks like the wood or the wood of the step that the investigator collected for analysis at the state fire marshal's office.
All right, and so first of all, just this is a close-up of the little orange markers that you use, correct?
Yes,
All right, so at this point, we see the bag. So after India makes the alert, you mark it. We put the number indicator down, the placard. We see now a bag. What happens after you guys do your thing?
basically we decon and let India rest in the truck. And then I'll assist I'll assist the investigator on Steve with collecting the evidence to, give him a good idea of where the dog truly was alerted.
Okay, and when you said Brian, you meant Investigator Peterman?
Yeah, you're cutting out a little bit
Oh,
again.
yep, sorry. So when you said Brian, you meant Investigator Peterman? That's who Brian is, Brian Peterman?
That's correct, Investigator Peterman.
Okay, so this would be how you then go back, and now you take where the alert was, you put it in a bag to go to the lab for testing, fair?
Yes.
All right. And slide number 12, what are we seeing here?
Sample of the wood had been cut out, and obviously that was taken as evidence.
All right, and what is this right here that we're looking at? Just so we,
Those look like the gloves the investigators would have used to collect that sample with.
all right. And do they typically put them in the photograph like that to show that they wore gloves while they collected that evidence?
Yes, in most instances.
Yeah. And slide number 13,
Looks like number 7's evidence has been collected,
okay, and slide 14,
and number 8's location collected.
and 15.
That was number 10. That was actually the third examination we had finished that day.
Okay, and tell us about 10. That was a little different, wasn't it?
Yeah, that one was a little different.
All right, tell us why.
Well, we observed some irregular smoke or burn marks on the metal siding.
Is that right here that we're looking at? Or is that,
That's not a real good picture of it, but some of it is, yes.
okay,
After we'd done, I think, the collection up on the front porch, decided to run India one more time, and this time gave her the command to seek up high, which you put your finger on the wall and let her trace your finger up on the higher portions of the exterior of the west side. And she ended up making an alert right there where that satellite dish mount was located.
all right, so this is actually the arm to the satellite dish, is that what we're looking at here?
That's correct, yes.
All right, and maybe this is a little bit better picture of 10, so what is this?
Yes.
Slide 16?
I believe we removed the satellite dish and we collected a section of the board that would have been right behind the mount of the satellite dish.
All right, and as far as the collection goes, then it's sent off, we said it goes to a lab for testing. You don't have any part of that process, is that correct, once it's collected?
That's correct.
All right. During the period of time that you did this search with India, had you had an opportunity to watch any video?
I did not.
All right. At that time, were you aware that there was video cameras or surveillance cameras at this house 719 Fultz?
I think we were made aware that there was cameras or some type of video, but I never had the opportunity to see it.
All right. And as a matter of fact, that video was not provided or able to be retained or retrieved until sometime later. Is that fair?
That's what I understand, yes.
All right. Did you ever see that video?
I don't believe I have.
All right. You don't recall seeing a video of a man with looked like a bottle of some kind of fluid squirting it onto the side of the house?
Well after.
Okay.
I'm going to say 3-4 years later.
And that was part of your preparation for trial. Is that fair?
Yes.
And you saw these videos of an individual squirting this liquid on the side of the house. When you saw that, did that confirm what we saw, what your dog seemed to alert to, what India alerted to?
Absolutely, yes.
All right. There was also some alerts that took place further on the other side of the front porch on the east side. Is that fair? And I can go back and show you here.
Yeah, you might have to. I'm thinking that like at the steps.
Yes, exactly. So like 9.
Yes.
And in those videos, we don't see the individual go over in that area and put any accelerant there, but yet we have an alert here. Is that fair?
Yes.
When an accelerant is used, are there certain things that happen during the suppression of the fire that the firemen do that could account for the alerts going all the way across the front porch and down the front, in the front of the front porch?
Absolutely. Hose streams, water, you can kind of push and carry the hydrocarbon product, which is what we're looking for. It happens to float on water, so it can be dispersed and moved around.
So if the firemen were on the west side spraying down the house and the fire, it could wash some of that accelerant across the porch and down the steps and off the porch.
Yes, theoretically, yes, it could.
All right. As far as 719 Fultz, was that the extent of your involvement with that investigation?
Yes.
All right. So let me now try and stop sharing here. And all right, do you see this here?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So let's move to May 15th of 2017. Were you called to assist in the investigation of a fire that took place at 693 Fultz.
Yes.
And who would you have, who would have made contact with you on that occasion?
I believe it was Investigator Peterman again.
All right. And the purpose for your being involved in this time was it also for the canine India?
Yes, it was.
So they really aren't calling for you, they're calling for the dog, right?
That's pretty much the truth.
All right. So in this situation, do you recall when you would have received the call in this case?
I believe it was 7:30 in the morning.
All right. And again, there's no urgency for you to get there while the fire is taking place, correct?
Correct.
So what time would you have arrived at 693 Fultz?
I think it was probably 8:45 or so.
All right. And that 693 Fultz, and actually I'm not sure if I asked you about the other one, 693 Fultz and 719 Fultz, are they in the city of Akron, Summit County, Ohio?
I believe so, yes.
All right. And you're an investigator for the Ohio State Fire Marshal. Do you have a jurisdictional area that you do for when you're the lead investigator?
Yes, I have an area that encompasses Tuscarawas, Carroll, Harrison, Belmont, and Coshocton counties.
All right. So Summit is not where you investigate the arsons, but you do get called in for the canine.
Yes, or to assist, yes.
Okay, very good. And so you said you got to the scene at approximately what time on this one?
I think it was about 7 o'clock in the morning, 7:30 maybe at the latest.
All right. And so did you use the same process that you did at 719 Fultz with India?
Yes.
And
yes.
and it's the same dog, India, is that fair?
Correct, yes.
And did you calibrate her
Yes,
before and after?
yes.
And was she, I guess, properly working at both instances, the before and after her deployment?
Yes, she was.
All right. So at 693 Fultz, you said you've identified the first slide. I'm going to skip slide number 2 and go to slide number 3, if I can.
We have an exhibit number on that?
Oh, I'm sorry. This would be the thumb drive would be 42.
So Mark,
Thank you, Judge. And this slide 42 has 11. Excuse me. Thumb drive exhibit 42 has 11 slides on it, for the record.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. Okay, so showing you slide number 3 of State's Exhibit number 42. What are we looking at here?
Looks like the south side porch area.
All right. And so we see, again, 2 placards, 1 and 2. And what do they represent?
Those were alerts made by K9 Indian.
And again, we see their little orange marker, correct?
Yes.
All right. And those are they on the porch or actually on the ground in front of the porch, if you recall?
I believe they're on the ground in front of the porch.
Okay. And then slide number 4, that's just a more close-up of number 1, correct?
Yes.
And slide number 5 would be a close-up of number 2.
Yes.
All right. And we're going to skip to slide number 7. What are we looking at here?
Additional alerts made by K9 India. Looks like 3, 5, and 6.
Okay, and
3, 4, 6. I'm sorry.
3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay. And again, all have your alert orange markers. Fair?
Yes.
And this is actually on the porch, right?
Yes.
Do you recall, and I see that there is a shovel over here. Is that a shovel that was used to clear the area on the porch?
Yes.
All right. Do you recall, if you do, what kind of things were on this porch?
I'm going to say not exactly, but I do remember there was a lawnmower and some, I believe, charcoal briquettes.
All right.
That had been on the left side there, or I'm sorry, on the right side.
Okay. And that's not unusual in a house fire that you find lawn equipment and other types of things like charcoal, correct?
No, not unusual.
And slide number 8.
That would have been the alert number 3 from India, collected.
All right. And where would this have been located?
I believe that was on the front porch.
All right. And slide number 9.
The fourth alert from K9 India on the front porch.
And that would be the bag of what you collected from that site?
Correct, that's called a debris bag, yes.
Okay. And slide number 10.
Number 5
Oh.
alert from India.
There you go.
Yep, number 5 alert from India, collected.
All right. And where was that?
I believe that's the front porch as well.
All right. And alert number and slide number 11.
That's alert number 6 from K9 India. And
Okay.
that is at the front porch.
All right. And what are we looking at here? Can you make out this item here?
I believe that was the remains of a lawnmower.
All right. And I'm going to show you slide number 6. Do you recognize that?
Looks like a diagram of the involved fire.
All right. And so are these, see the placards 1, or I should say they're not placards, they're little yellow squares with numbers in them. 1, 2, 3,
6?
4, 5, and 6. Okay?
Yes.
And do those accurately represent in this diagram where approximately India alerted on that porch and in front of the porch?
Yes.
Okay. And is this here, looks like it represents something, is that the lawnmower that's represented there?
I believe. I didn't complete this diagram,
Okay.
so I'm not sure exactly.
That's fair. All right. Once you, it looks like there are 6 alerts at this location at 693 faults by India. After you marked them, did you assist in collecting them also?
Yes.
And once you assisted in collecting them for purposes of submitting them to the lab, was there any other involvement you had in the investigation of the fire at 693 faults?
No.
In regards to India, you told us about her training and a little bit about the background of that training and why we use dogs. Is the use of a canine dog an accepted manner of indicating or detecting accelerants used throughout the country and the world for detecting accelerants of fires and arsons?
It is.
May I have a moment, Judge?
Yes.
Investigator Weber, was K9 India used in any other aspect during the investigation of either of these fires?
We did an investigation, or I'm sorry, an examination at the Akron Police Department.
Okay, can you tell us about that?
One of the detectives had reached out and asked if I would be able to do an examination of a subject, a male subject, that they were questioning.
Okay, and do you remember that male subject's name?
Boggs, I believe. Last name is Boggs.
All right. And did you, in fact, have India attempt to detect accelerants in relation to Mr. Boggs?
Yes, we did.
And was it on him and his person? Was it on his clothing? What were the items or things that were searched?
Well, he was examined in the Detective Bureau, and K-9 India did alert to, I think, his socks.
All right.
His feet.
Anything else?
That was it.
All right. Would you then have been involved at all about the collection of any of the socks or anything about Mr. Boggs?
Yeah, we did go ahead and collect his clothing,
Okay.
and that was turned over to Investigator Peterman to have it analyzed at the Fire Marshal's lab.
All right. Were there any other items about Mr. Boggs that were alerted to by India?
In his apartment,
All right. Tell us about that.
search warrant was obtained through Akron PD for his vehicle and his apartment. And we did an examination of the truck, which had no alerts from the K-9. And then we did an examination throughout the apartment. And there was a number of clothing articles that the dog alerted to.
Okay. And do you recall what those clothing articles were?
I do not, I'm sorry.
All right. But they were collected as part of the search warrant once India alerted.
Correct.
All right. And those items, would they have been collected by Investigator Peterman or someone else?
Investigator Peterman got those.
Okay. You indicated that you had India deployed in regards to Mr. Boggs' truck, correct?
Correct.
And there was no alerts.
No alerts inside the passenger compartment or to the bed area of the truck.
All right. So, just so the jury knows, a vehicle runs on gas, has oil in it, things of that nature. Why wouldn't a dog alert on, the gas tank or things of that nature?
Well, we kind of train to keep the dog away from the gas tank, or to keep, especially the fill tank, fill cap, because they are vented, so we would expect her to alert every time she went there. So we kind of avoid the area, so to speak. We don't point it out to her.
All right. So she had no alerts on the locations of the vehicle that you specifically had her search.
I'm sorry, you're cutting out again.
Sorry, apologize. So India did not alert only on the areas that you had her specifically search.
I don't understand your question.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Well, it's probably inartful. She didn't alert on the truck, but to be fair, it was only on the areas that you had her specifically search.
Yes.
And you said you had her search, did you say the bed of the truck?
Yes.
And you had her search the passenger compartment of the truck?
Yes.
And why did you not have her search the driver's compartment?
Well, that is part of the passenger compartment.
Okay.
Is entire inside of the truck.
All right. So when you say the passenger compartment, that's all passengers, including the driver.
The drivers. Yes.
Okay. And so there was no alerts within the cabin of this truck.
Correct.
Other than the 4 items we've talked about the search of the individual, Mr. Boggs. We talked about his apartment. Am I cutting out again?
Yeah, you're
Sorry. We talked about your involvement at the houses, 693, 719 Fultz. The search of Mr. Boggs' person, his truck, and his apartment, correct?
Yes.
Did India search any other persons or items or places in regards to these 2 investigations?
Yes, eventually we had Mr. Ford's 2 residences.
Okay. And did you and were there any alerts in regards to those?
Yes, India alerted to, I believe, a coat and a black pair of sweatpants in the residence. And then in the second residence, she alerted to, I think, a number of containers. One was labeled gasoline, one was labeled charcoal lighter fluid, and then there was, I believe, 2 gas appliances in the basement as well that she alerted to.
And when you say the second residence, would that have been,
Now again,
I'm sorry, you said in the second residence, do you recall the address of that residence?
off the top of my head, I do not.
All right. You recall that there was a 1370 Hillcrest and a 1374 Hillcrest?
That sounds correct.
And there was one that was on the corner. Do you recall that one?
Yes,
And then there was one right next door.
yes,
Do you recall, was one appeared to be lived in and the other was not?
yes,
So you indicated about searching the one and you found an India alerted on a couple things in that place. Was that the place?
in the,
Go ahead.
in the lived-in residence,
All right.
yes.
And so which items were alerted up to there?
I believe it was a black Carhartt coat, or a Carhartt coat, and a black pair of sweatpants.
All right. And then you indicated that in the second residence, the one that didn't appear to be lived in, there was numerous other items, correct?
Yes,
And those other items, what types of items did you say they were?
I believe they were labeled as a gas container, a container, a plastic container that was white that was labeled charcoal lighter fluid. And then I said 2 gas appliances. I believe one was a weed whip and the other was a lawnmower.
All right. And of course, that's not unusual, correct?
No,
Everybody has gas, or I shouldn't say everybody, but a lot of people have lawn equipment and gasoline and fuels for those items. Is that fair?
yes,
All right. And these items were stored actually in the house. Is that true?
yes.
All right. Other than things now that we've talked about, is there anything else that India was used to search?
I don't believe so, no.
All right. And in regards to those items in the 2 residences at 1370 and 1374 Hillcrest, those items would have been collected by you or by Investigator Peterman?
Investigator Peterman.
All right. And as far as you may have learned about the results, but this wasn't your investigation, so you would not have followed up on that. Is that fair?
Yes, that's fair.
And that would be Investigator Peterman's kind of bailiwick, or that would be his job.
Yeah. His summation, yes.
Okay. Investigator Weber, were you present when there were shoes that were located in a trash can?
I was not.
All right.
I
And
was
that,
aware they were collected though later.
but that was not something that India had alerted on. Is that fair?
Yes, I believe they were in a trash can or something.
Okay. Your Honor, I have no further questions.
Thank you. Mr. Rice?
Thank you, sir. Stay there because the defense counsel will be asking you some questions
Are you
now.
going to need those
Yes.
documents?
I don't think so.
So you want me to stop sharing?
All right, good afternoon, Mr. Weber. My name's Scott Riley, along with my co-counsel, Joe Gorman. We represent Stanley Ford. Is that better for you right there?
Yep, I can hear you fine now.
All right. Going to ask you some questions. It's going to be brief, but if you don't understand my question, let me know. I'll try to rephrase. Is that fair?
Yes,
You, through the course of all your testimony today, you've written reports regarding all of your activity, correct?
yes,
Have you reviewed those reports before you testified today?
yes,
Do you have those reports in your vicinity as you're testifying today?
yes,
Have you referred to those reports during the course of your testimony?
yes,
Okay. Because I think I saw when you were talking about your investigation as it related to May 15th of 2017, I think you initially said that you got called at about 7 a.m. and you arrived about 9:30. But then I think later you corrected that by saying that you arrived around 7 a.m. Is that fair?
I believe so, yes.
And, because that's what was written in your report, correct?
Yeah, I think so, yes.
All right, and it's okay, just let us know if you're doing that. Is that fair?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm trying to,
Lot-
everything I have to rely on is in my report.
Sure thing. Because you know that it's vitally important for you to put all the important information in that report, correct?
Yes,
And you know through your 18 plus, well, actually with your fire time, 26 years experience, it's really
Yes.
important to dictate everything you can because you may be called years later, such as this case, correct?
yes.
And is it fair to say that you have a better recollection of what's in your report versus what you remember happening that day?
Yes,
Okay. So you arrived on May 15th of 2017. You arrived at 693 Fultz at 7 a.m., correct?
yes, yeah,
And you were at that scene for at least 5 hours, if I'm correct.
that sounds about right.
All right. Do you recall what time you were summoned to the Akron Police Station?
I believe it was after the lunchtime, noon, 1 o'clock,
Okay.
without looking at my report.
All right. If your report says that you went to the Akron Police Station around 1500 hours,
That's later than I thought.
okay, that'd be like 3 o'clock in the afternoon?
Yes,
Okay, is that fair? I don't want to put words in your mouth. Does that sound accurate?
it does, yes,
Do you want to take a minute to look at your report to make sure we're on the same page?
yes,
Top of page 2.
yes, okay, I got it now.
All right. And that's the 6th floor of the Akron Police Station, correct?
Yes,
And that's the Detective Bureau, correct?
yes,
And,
yes,
and Mr. Patrick Boggs was in what they call an interview room, correct?
yes,
Very, very small room with no windows, a table that's bolted to the wall, correct?
yes,
And Mr. Boggs was probably chained to that table with a handcuff, correct?
I don't believe he was handcuffed.
Okay. You completed that examination at, like I said, 1,500 hours. Do you know how long it took you?
Just a couple minutes.
All right. You were then asked to go out to Ravenna, correct?
Yes,
And that was Mr. Boggs' residence, correct?
yes,
And I believe he lived at 645 Hazen Drive in Ravenna, Ohio. That's Portage County, correct?
that looks correct, yes,
And would you agree with me that you then got out to Portage County in Ravenna at 1836 hours, or roughly 6:30 p.m., correct?
correct,
And that was Mr. Patrick Boggs' apartment, you in Canine, India, correct?
yes,
In addition to you and your canine, were there members of the Akron Police Department there?
yes.
Was anybody residing in that residence when you arrived?
I believe there was, yes.
And do you know who that was?
I do not.
All right. I believe that your report then says that you cleared the apartment at 20:30 hours, correct?
Yes,
So your examination of that apartment with your canine lasted just a little under 2 hours, correct?
yes,
All right, and that would include your search, if you will, with the canine through the apartment as well as the vehicle outside, correct?
yes,
All right. When you testified a little bit ago, you said that you had canine check the bed of the truck. You recall that testimony?
yes.
Would you agree with me and look at your report that your report is silent as to any examination of the bed of the truck?
I would agree with that, yes.
Okay, so you did not put that in your report, correct?
I did not.
And as we sit here, you don't have a recollection of what items Canine India alerted on?
I know I have it listed in my report, I just need to look at it to confirm.
You didn't take pictures of the items that alerted, such as we've seen on the slideshows already, correct?
I did not. Investigator Peterman would have done that.
All right.
May I have a second, Judge?
Yes.
Mr. Weber, that's all the questions I have. Thank you very much.
Mr.
you.
McKenzie?
I just have one question that's probably burning in the jury's mind. What type of dog is India?
India is a black lab. She's currently 13 years old and hanging in there strong.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
All right, thank you, Investigator Weber. Your testimony is completed, and you may leave the meeting now, okay?
Okay,
Thank you very much.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our testimony for today. Remember the admonition I had previously given you concerning your conduct. It is important that you be fair and attentive throughout the trial. Do not discuss this case amongst yourselves or with anyone else. This includes family, friends, and the media. You must not post or read anything about this case on the internet or any electronic device, including your cell phone. Any such discussion, if discovered, could lead to a mistrial and would severely compromise the party's right to a fair trial. Do not permit anyone to discuss it with you or in your presence. Do not form or express an opinion until the case has finally been submitted to you. Leave your notepads upside down on your chairs, and if you'll be back ready to go at 9 a.m. tomorrow, we will have mostly a full day, but I don't think we'll be going this late tomorrow, so maybe 3 o'clock, 3:30. Okay? All right, have a nice evening. We'll see everybody tomorrow.
All right, please.